Okay, so I already say that we have like the input layers here and we have output layers here with 8 faders. We are going to talk about a little bit about everything, but I will not focus on the mixer itself. Just I want to focus on like signal flow, like how you should manage the signal, or what kind of stuff you can do it to sound better. Because Mylon can teach you the the mixer itself. He already knows a lot, so I don't want to like spend a lot of time explaining stage by stage, button by button. I just want to move really quickly this overview comparing to the analog mixer, so we can go to listen. For example, this is a kick drum. It was recording live, so you already can listen that there is voices sounding and other kind of instruments like the cymbals. Uh, so I want to go like to that part, like we are gonna listen the signal just as a live drummer was there, and what can you do with the signal to make it sound right, how do you assign effects, how do you use the effects, how do you use groups and stuff like that. So continuing with the overview of the channel, we already talked about the preamp session stage section, and here is another couple of buttons too. The phantom power, that is called, it has name here like 48 volts, like a phase reverse. That is an important button. You will not use it a lot, but that it's really important when you have a signal that has a certain phase and you have the same signal running at the same time but has inverted the phase. It's like the sum of both signal is how do you say that, it's like clean, it's erased. You can hear anything because it's like it's just math. It's like 3 minus 3 is 0. It's like just like that. It's very hard to understand without a graphic, but that is, you have a phase reverse button. It is mostly used, for example, when you have like a microphone on the top of a snare drum and you have a microphone on the bottom too, where the engineers like to do that because on the top you have like the hit, the stick sound, but in the bottom you have like that chord sound, like the stuff like is the chain sounding. So when you hit the snare, the sound goes up, and 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 the sound that is going down is in just the opposite phase. So if you don't use the phase button to match, the sum about that will be canceling some frequencies and you will not hear them. So that is why important that be there. And there is a low cut button too. You remember when we talk about the equalizer in the graphic, the low cut is a filter that just cut the low end of the signal, just the low frequencies. In this mixer you have a knob too that is really nice because you don't have like the frequency fixed. You can choose in which frequency you are gonna cut the low frequencies. Then, to make like the parallel with the analog board, you have the equalizer. The equalizer is really nice here because we have 4 bands. We have 4 equalizers. Just with these 3 knobs, depends of which one of the bands you have selected, you can equalize. You can use the equalizer like in 4 different bands. And you have the mode. So with this button, for example, the low frequency, we can choose if we want it like semi-parametric. Do you remember the bell? Or you can choose if you want it shelving. That means that you raise the whole low end or you cut the whole low end. Um, So this is really amazing because the digital domain allow you to do that, like have several processes inside of the mixer and not have like a really good huge circuit to do every of these stages. And then you have the sense. That this is really important because as we talked before, the sense can be used for monitor returns for the musicians, or to feed a camera, or wherever. So we have just 4 knobs, but the mixer has 16 cents. So for example, here I am watching the cents from 1 to 4. So if I move just this knob, I am sending the signal through the bus number 1. Here you can see the lights, it's at maximum, but if I push this button, I will be seeing like the sense from 9 to 12. So the lights are shutting down here. So if I come back, I can see the sense to the channel number, to the bus number 1. As I told you, you have to have really clear in your mind what are you doing, so, and remind yourself each time what are you moving. So because maybe I just want to send to the monitor number 1, so the vocal or the drummer listen, but I have this button pushed, so even if I push really hard, he will never listen because it should be this send. So just remember, you have to be really clear with what are you doing. So we have the preamp, the equalizer, and then the aux buses or bus sends. Here are not called aux buses because they can be buses for like almost everything that you need. So they don't have just one name. And the final buttons here that you are gonna see is the main assignation. As to say, in the analog mixer, we have here buttons that you can say I want to send the signal to the main output, or I will send the signal to another group. Do you remember that? So here with this section, this is the assign button to here in the master. So it's really nice. Each time that you start a new scene, a new like setup, every channel is assigned to the stereo bus. So you don't have to worry about to push the button because it's like kinda obvious. Like if you're receiving one signal, you're gonna go through there. You have a mono bus too, like for feed a sub bass or a mono speaker in the middle of the stage. Maybe you will need that in your new room at church, in your new sanctuary, because the stage is too wide. If you have just left and right, maybe you will need a mono speaker in the center. So maybe you will use that, or whatever Meilon decides. So that's kind of like a really fast overview of what we already have seen in the analog mixer, but we skip just this section. This section is new, like will be some new knowledge. Is like about dynamics processor. We have 2 dynamics processor here. Is the compressor and the gate. In the analog mixer, we didn't have that because we talked that already the mixer has a special connector for main inserts. So with one cable you go to the compressor, and with another cable you come back to the compressor. So the compressor was an external unit. In this mixer, you have one compressor already inserted in each one of the channels. So that's really nice and really handy, and I hope you can learn today, or trying to understand a little bit how does this work. So This is the dynamics is the compressor. I will try to explain just a little bit. The compressor is like you have a signal, for example, the kick drum here. Again, we're watching the lights moving through the heat of the kick drum, and some hits will reach some amount of levels, and maybe if the drummer is tired, it will go down, or he's hitting really hard on the chorus, it will be harder. We will have more voltage that is representing more sound. Or maybe a singer, in this case you are watching a singer, you are watching a voice reflected here. So what you want to do, it sometimes is have control over the dynamics. It's like maybe in the verse the singer is singing at this level and you have your mix and it's sounding super good, but then you move to the chorus and he's singing like some notes really low, or the whole chorus is more louder. uh, so the compressor helps you to catch some of the transients. It's like when you want to have like a special or a kind of average sound, so it makes you easier to mix. But when the singer is just screaming sometimes, or the kick drum goes too hard on the chorus, you want to control that a little bit to maintain like some kind of consistency through the whole song. That is what the compressor is going to do. It's like just picking the peaks of the signals and cutting them to make like the dynamics a little bit flat. So you have to just have be really careful with that, because it's a double-edged weapon, like knife, sword, or whatever you wanted to call it, because dynamics, they are really important to music. It's like the musician is putting dynamics for something. It's not just because he's tired or he's screaming just because he's screaming. Dynamic is important for music. So when you cut that dimension, you are making the music like flat and flavorless. So you want to compress, you want to control, but you don't want to kill the dynamics of the signal. So uh, be careful with that. You will have to spend a lot of time just using it to understand how it works. So we're gonna go now to just process signals. I will show you what I do with kick drum sounds, what I do with snare sounds, what I do with the low microphone of the snare, hi-hat, vocals, keyboards, and stuff like that. I prefer to teach you that so you can have like a general knowledge about how to equalize, or how to compress some signals, how do you send the signal to the effects, so you can use effects for a like a artistic uh, way to the mix, so it helps you and stuff like that.